Welcome, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We have a lot of choices at this festival, and I appreciate that you chose to be here in my class. My name is Isabella Greene. I used to work in financial services industry, and live in New York City. And now I live in Sedona, and I serve as a metaphysical specialist and teacher and awakening coach. So, what do we know that is happening nowadays on Earth? Awakening, mass awakening, right? And why is mass awakening happening? So why is this wave growing, do you guys think?
There's so much shadows up.
And because...
Why? The internet. There's a return to the feminine.
She said because shadow is being pushed out, but also because, thank you, because the more work we do, and the more we bring that spirit through us, and the more we awaken ourselves, the more we create the ripple effect for others to awaken too. And so people in our lives all of a sudden start noticing that we are different. And what is it that we're doing differently? They want to know that. And so we share our state of being. And then we start noticing that these people change as well. But here comes the question, did they really change, or did we actually shift and are experiencing a whole different version of the same people? Whoa. Right? Did you get the chills at that point? Right. So that's a little teaser there for the timeline, understanding timeline shifts. We know that timeline shifts happen cosmically, globally, on the planetary level, and on our individual level. And as above, so below. So Earth is now going through a major shift, and it's gradual. So it's a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, but a whole array of constant shifts are happening, and the same stuff is happening for us individually as well. And most of us in 3D, when we are in stress, when we are living in the major matrix of 3D, we're unable to observe that. We're unable to be aware of that. But as we start, as our self-work, as our energetic work, as everything grows and expands, and we start shifting out of 3D into 4, 4.5, maybe 5, a little glimpse into the 5, we are able to not only observe these shifts, but also to create the shifts ourselves. What Earth is going through is facilitated through celestial events. All of our cosmic assistance that comes in through the equinoxes and solstices and stargates and gateways and perfect alignments and 11:11s and 12:21s and all of these beautiful stargate portals that we experience. All of these things is when energy comes through and influences the planet to have a little bit of that timeline shift, moving into a little bit of a different reality. And because we populate, we are the bodies of Earth. Our bodies are made of elements of Earth. So we literally are like little elements of Earth crawling all around it. And we shift with it. We don't have a choice. But when we as a collective are creating our own individual shifts, we're actually assisting from within as well. And so the question arises, how can we do that? And also, how can we become aware of that? Hi, this is Understanding Timeline Shifts. Right, come on in and make yourself comfortable. So there are global shifts, or cosmic shifts, and there are also individual shifts. Individual shifts can be facilitated or self-created, created by your own experiences. So what we're going to do later today, I'm going to work as that equinox power for our individual shifts here. Because I'm going to pull that energy through myself, anchor myself into that space, and see if we can facilitate the shift for the entire group. We will also set up the intention, both personal intentions, individual intentions, and global intentions, because each of us is holding a piece of that global shift in the timeline shift space. And also our individual lives, when we are happy, when we're balanced, when we're in good health, we are emanating the type of energy that assists the planet to move into the new Earth space. And what is the new Earth space? Do we know what the new Earth space is? What is it?
5D, universal love consciousness.
Beautiful, right? That's the parallel, that's the so-called parallel expression of incarnation of planet Earth. I think that's the simplest I can explain it.
Do you see,
by.
on 5D, do you see Earth coming back to pristine state? Or being
Returning back to the original blueprint before we as the human collective created that dark cloud of thinking, because each thought contributes to the field of consciousness, yes. And so first there was the dot, and then it grew and it expanded, and now we have that dark cloud around Earth, and it's all created by the thinking through energetic imprints of the thinking onto the energy field of the planet. So when we're saying that we're moving into a parallel Earth, or some of us, so the ones whose consciousness and frequency matches that new state. So Earth is evolving and creating a parallel version of itself, and we as human beings, we're evolving and creating the parallel versions of ourselves too, and it's constantly created in the background somewhere. But our objective here is to become aware of that, and also to perhaps facilitate that, or become conscious creators of those shifts.
So when you were saying that about how our loved ones, we may be experiencing different versions of them, that would mean that we also have different versions of ourselves.
Yes.
So will we have a version still left on 3D, on 4D?
Right, yeah.
So, but we're just, is there like a primary consciousness then, like that, or are they all?
Well, that's a good question. I think the primary consciousness is the consciousness of everything.
Yeah, but I guess I'm just having trouble like understanding how we're experiencing, say, this one.
Right.
And then.
Yeah, let me help you with that. Okay. So when we evolve, we develop what's called a multidimensional brain ability. Meaning, have you guys seen the movie Lucy? The brain capacity, what happens when we reach 100%, we don't even know, right? At 20%, she starts to experience and oneness with everything, right? So as we evolve and we progress in our own evolution, we develop what's called multidimensional brain capacity, which means we're capable of, as an observer consciousness, we're capable of observing and experiencing ourselves simultaneously in 3D, in parallel 4.5, in parallel 5, in parallel higher dimensions, as the higher dimensional aspects of our own higher selves. Okay. So where you are and where your main consciousness is depends on where your focus is. And also, what is it that, well, basically straight out where your focus is. So if you're focusing in lower dimensional experiences, drama, trauma, problems, pain, stress, you're going to be seeing also, so your filters will be filtering out other dimensional consciousness altogether. So you're going to be just stuck in that space. When you are moving into the space where you're experiencing more joy, more inspiration, much less stress, much less drama, and then that's 4.5, 3 to 4.5, and those are just numbers because these are states of consciousness. But that's the progression of the new human. And I don't want to turn this into a one-on-one conversation here.
So I have like so many comments. I'm just gonna.
Well, this is not a lecture. This is an interactive conversation. Yolanda, could you grab me that article, print out in my suitcase
but
there?
I've noticed jumps where I could be in 3D and then change my thought pattern, and then I'm there like that. So we can kind of traverse almost instantaneously.
Yes. So what happens is this. At this point, we're able to tap into it like you have an incredible yoga class, or we'll have an incredible energetic experience at the end of this class. And you walk out of there and the world and your senses are amplified and the whole world feels so incredibly different, right? And then the phone call comes in and you just lost your job, for example, right? For God, cancer clear, but... Yeah. And so at that moment, you yanked right back into that old timeline, because new timelines, new state of being come with a whole new set of stories. And this is the process is to release those old set of stories. That includes karmic stories, that includes your present day attachments to where your focus is, that includes creating the entire new spectrum of stories. And that starts with the language too, and all these things, right? Where you're saying that we can be saying the same exact thing from different perspectives, from different vibrational alignment of the language itself, right? Okay, so on the new human, because that came up just now, so I just published, not that I published, I put it on, and it got picked up and published by 3 major websites. I basically just kept finding out, this one published, and Enlightened Consciousness published me, and in 5D published me, and I'm like, whoa, this is really awesome. So that was the article that I wrote, and I basically sat down and wrote how it feels to be in that new human state. Because I quit my job in New York, I moved to Sedona, and I said, I am dedicating every second of my life to this journey. I want to find out what it is to be what they say in 5D, what the instant manifesting is, what that state of godlike consciousness is, what it is to bring through those forces into here, anchor them into 3D. And so I just observed my reality and made 22 points about how my life changed compared to when I lived in New York 6 years ago, right? And those were just my notes, and they got published. And so that's the new human thing. And so we have the experiences that come with you when you shift into that space. I'm just going to read that really quickly. So we experience good health, right? Do we know that we notice that when our frequency is higher, our inspiration is there, our state of being changed, and we're not allowing ourselves to be yanked back to the old 3D structure, both in the thinking and in the lifestyle and in the experiencing of things, right? Then all of a sudden, something changed, right? What is a spontaneous remission? There we go. Spontaneous remission is a timeline shift. I believe so, so I've observed that, and I want to hear some stories. I want to tell you a story now, but I want to hear some of yours too. I would start getting sick, or coming down with something, right? And I sit in a meditation, and my meditations are really deep. I've been doing the advanced yogic meditations every night at 3:30 in the morning for the last 3 years, every single night.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and so talking about going in the void, and, all of that is happening. I can so use a tissue.
Ambrosial hours. Those are for real.
Yeah. It changed my reality for sure. And so spontaneous remission would happen, meaning I would sit in the meditation, wake up, I was got this sore throat and mouth, I can breathe, and I wake up and sit in the meditation, and half an hour later, come back, not a single symptom would happen.
Oh, wow.
Because to facilitate what happened, you just moved into a parallel potential. Because we are constantly she's missing the best part. Oh, we're constantly in that space of potentials. Time as a construct does not exist. Time is a construct of the mind. So when we raise our frequency, we go into the meditation, deep into the meditation. Meditative space is considered to be 5D. If you really can get there really far in and deep and in the void and the whole thing. Sleeping is 4D, maybe 4.5. But 5 is the meditative space. You're able to pull yourself out of your reality and go into the space where you're nobody, no time, no space, you're nothing. You dissolve into, thank you very much. Thank you. You dissolve into the void, right? You dissolve into the void, which means you disconnect for that time from all the stories from all timelines. And what is the void? The void is the field of infinite potentials. So we literally are able as human beings, as extensions of our higher selves in the physical forms, we're literally able to come out of this body, this biological suit, the temple, the vehicle, the earthcraft, right? We're able to leave it and go into the void. And when we come back in, we actually pull in, we have a capacity to pull in any parallel potential. And in that potential, we are healthy. Oops, what happened? Where did all the symptoms go? Another one, the funny one, I had a super deep meditation to the point that I was so gone out of my body that my alarm was going on for probably 30 minutes. I didn't even hear it. My roommate was about to call, and find out if I'm still alive in that room and what happened to me. But I came out of that, I came out into the kitchen and the dishwasher is on. The light is on and I'm looking at it and I don't like it because, when the dishes are done, he opens the door and it smells, and I just don't like the whole dishwasher thing going on. So I look at it and I texted him and I said, oh, okay, I'll open the dishwasher. I don't like the smell, but I'll do that anyway. And he says, well, I'm not using the dishwasher. And I said, I'm looking at it, it's on. And he texted me back and said, I didn't turn it on. And I go back into my room, and I come, and as I'm focusing on that, I clearly can hear him say, no, I come back out and it's not on. So what happened?
Really?
He just yanked me right back into previous timeline. I came out of that meditation in the timeline where the dishwasher was on. And when he interacted with me and I believed him, right, I went right back onto the old one. So, okay, now I feel, what happened? What was that? It was like a glimpse into a parallel reality, where in that reality, in my house, at that moment, the dishwasher was on. But the roommate stayed on the old, and I wasn't interacting with him in person, you see, So, because in person, I probably would not have even been interacting with the same version of him. Right? These are fun. These things are fun. Another one, I'm driving late at night, and I'm coming back from a gathering of super powerful, energetically powerful people. And I'm driving through, and I just passed that Poco Diablo resort, and I looked at it, and I always look at it. It's nice, I like the sign. I looked at it, and then I look back, and there are 2 cars behind me. I can see it's dark, and I see 2 sets of lights behind me. And I just passed that. And about a second later, I get that, feeling, like a little head spin, and I'm passing it again. And I'm looking at Poco Diablo again, and there are no cars behind me. And there are 2 cars that are coming from this way, in this direction, and past me. So these are the things, right? And so when you tap into the state of being, of a higher consciousness, and I'm not, honestly, I'm not trying to say that I'm somewhere in there, but I work really hard to have these experiences. You start becoming aware because the filters come down. You know, our brain is very smart. Our brain filters out everything that's not relevant to our immediate physical survival, right? Because the brain has a function, the ego has a function, they're our best friends. They take care, they want to make sure that we are surviving comfortably in this 3D reality. And what is it? Like, you're gonna pass the same place twice? The brain is all confused. It's going to filter it all out immediately. Or like when you wake up in the morning after an incredible cosmic dream, and literally the minute you remember your bank account, it's gone. Yeah. Right? That's the function of the brain. That's the 3D experience. So we're talking spontaneous remission and the stories that pull us back to the old timeline and populate the new timelines as well. So you guys, any of you want to share a story of a timeline shift? They're so simple. Yes, let's hear it, Melanie.
I've lived here in this town for 16 years. And I have been going to this one restaurant. I don't know how long it's been here, at least 12. And I've always parked in the same 3 or 4 parking spaces. Just what I do. And I would walk across the little divider thing to go into the door of the restaurant. And there were always these little bushes, just little bushes. And one day I went and there were all these trees about 5 feet apart. I took a picture and I sent it to some friends. I said, do you remember these trees being here? These trees have never been here because this is where I walk. And everybody else remembered the trees. So the ones that I was talking to were, I assumed that they were from that timeline.
Right, exactly. Right? Mandela effect.
I have forever walked across the little bushes. I could step over them. I can do whatever I want. So, and the trees are still there. So
Mandela effect. The whole group remembering. What is Mandela effect? The whole group remembering.
Bernstein Bears.
Yeah, the whole group remembering the old timeline.
The whole group remembering events that in the mind of other groups never happened. Collective memory of historic events that, according to our recorded history, never took place. According to your recorded history, those were bushes.
There were no trees.
Now there were trees. And so, did that happen after a sound healing or after deep meditation, or did that just happen? Did you just become aware of that, or did you have something happen immediately prior that might have facilitated that for you?
I don't know. I would have to really think about that, so I'm not really sure.
Right, but that came...
It was in the last, it was since...
Since the solstice? Or since the...
In the last 2 years.
Okay.
Years. So maybe I think I'm shifting.
The collective, yes, of course.
So I don't know if it had to do with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, but you told me last night you're shifting for sure. We're all shifting, but how fast we're shifting is an individual journey. It's an individual experience. So facilitated shifts, how do they work? Oh, Valerie just told us about the shift that I think that might have, you might have become aware of a timeline shift that was cosmically facilitated, right? Like on the global scale, through celestial events, or through mass consciousness contributing, or not really mass consciousness, but enough consciousness contributing to that energy field to pull us into, or closer to that new reality that we're all working on in our individual experiences too, right? But facilitated timeline shifts, I keep saying the same thing. But yeah, I'll get there eventually. facilitated experiences could be facilitated by your own selves or through assistance of a practitioner, someone who actually has access to the higher frequency energy, and they can bring that energy to you. So the ones that you create yourselves, you can create through meditation, and in my experience, that is through meditation mostly, and through raising your frequency. The basic array of things that we know: yoga, clean water, clean diet, clean thoughts, high frequency lifestyle, away from TV, away from electronics as much as possible, and then meditative practice. The deeper your meditative practice, the more you're going to remove the filters, and the more you're going to become aware of what's going on. Also, the heart center right there, right?
I just gone through.
Yeah. Opening the heart center. The heart center is the device that receives information. Heart center, the heart itself is a physical organ, has brain cells. It's capable of receiving multidimensional, higher dimensional information that the brain filters out. Because the heart is not in charge of our physical survival. The heart is just that flimsy hippie organ inside of us. It's in charge of otherworldly stuff, right? And so it pulls in information when we're able to open our heart centers. That's why we talk about so much about heart centers. We become able to receive telepathic communication from multiple realities, from many different dimensions, including starting from the people who are passed on but still around, to multidimensional aspects of ourselves, to expressions and aspects of ourselves as we perceive as higher selves or otherworldly beings that are also parts of us. And the heart is able to receive that communication, but the heart is also able to receive information and cosmic knowledge. And that knowledge opens the door for us, again, to step into the higher frequency reality. Because when you are receiving information that is of what we now perceive as otherworldly quality, I can promise you, you're gonna lose interest in watching soap operas on TV very fast. Very fast. Although maybe you would want to drop that first too, right? Just as an assistance tool. But then we need to also train our bodies and train our consciousness to create that bridge, to translate the heart's telepathic message into brain compatible format.
And not close, because what I found is, myself and a lot of people that I know, when we get triggered by, constantly, with our hearts closed, and then we're kind of shutting off that electromagnetic field, and then also shutting off receiving the information that you're talking about. So what I've been practicing is, for a while now, is no matter what's going on, if I feel my heart closed, just to relax it and keep it open. Yeah. And then you're able to... Yeah.
Right. And also, okay, so how does the heart open? Let's have ideas here. How do we experience, let's just say this, how do we experience the sensation? How do we know that our heart is open? Heart is open. It's a physical sensation.
The pressure is gone. You don't feel the pressure.
Okay.
No, that's okay. I feel heat.
Yeah. Heat.
I feel fire in my heart.
Right. Yeah. Tingling?
A sense of bliss or just happiness.
Like that? Yeah. First the tingling starts. It kind of actually the pressure, I experienced not the pressure, but that kind of as if someone put the hand here, or you put your hand there yourself, that kind of feeling. Yeah. And then it starts tingling, it starts that swirling feeling. Mm-hmm. And in my case, because I do stuff with energy through my hands, It moves into my arms and it moves into the throat center. There's that heat here, there's a tingle, and then I can move it into the palms, and then all of a sudden I feel like I can heal 300 people.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
And so that's the open heart. In my practice right now, and I do a lot of sessions now internationally, worldwide with people. I help people to tap into their purpose, into their mission, to understand their gift, to understand their multidimensional story from cosmic origin to human blocks and stuff, and childhood and all that. You know, start from childhood, going into incarnations, and what was the soul thinking when it came here? Seriously, yeah. So a part of that is I'm looking at the heart center, and I'm going to do that with all of you here today. So I'm looking at the heart center, and I've observed that right now, in the people who have reached out to me, 40% is rare, as far as like openness. Like it looks like an eclipse, you know, like a sun. Now when it's fully open, and I'm yet to see fully open, and I cannot see my own, so I don't know, you know. And I'm sure I've experienced so much trauma in the past that I'm sure that I still got work to do in the heart center. It's always that way. So, but it looks like a sun, literally. You know, the beam of golden light from this heart center, and then it's eclipsed, you know. And so the openness of that light that I can see when I'm looking with my eyes closed at every individual field, from 40% to maybe 85%. When we're at 85%, it's excellent. That person is there, you know. I have not yet seen 100% open. And maybe that's a reflection in my own case, yeah.
Well, we're changing, right? Like
yes.
Sometimes our heart will be more closed, and then other times we're experiencing.
Right. Yeah. And again, it's like the facilitated experiences of higher joy, higher inspiration, that elevated state of being, or presence of someone whose heart is open. That works too.
It kind of holds the space.
Yeah.
You hold the space beautifully, by the way. It's just totally held.
Thank you. I was trying to put my head right underneath that glass spear that's over there, like to channel that light directly. But yeah, thank you. So when we experience the presence of someone whose heart is also open, you almost instantly would start feeling that sensation. And so even if your own has been through a lot, and hey, you know, that's the name of the game on earth. Hopefully not for the young ones, but yeah. When that presence comes into a proximity with you, and I noticed that it happens even across the globe, or you know, on the phone or whatever, then your own heart all of a sudden starts experiencing that tingling, that feeling. And we're going to do this before we lie down, and actually maybe we'll lie down first, but before I actually start doing the work on all of you, or bringing that in all of you individually, we will focus on the heart, and I will assist that. It will be kind of like a guided little getting into it thing, and so we'll focus on the heart.
May I ask a question?
Of course.
I'm just new to this. This is the first time I've heard most of any of this.
Well, I think you have heard this many times before, but right now you just remembered.
Actually, that is
You're
my
here
question.
to be reminded.
That's my question.
All right.
Is, where does deja vu fit into
There you
all
go.
this? Because
Yep.
that happens to me all the time.
Yes.
It happened to me this morning.
Right. And what kind of state were you in when that happened this morning?
Yeah.
Were you
I was open.
uplifted?
Yeah.
Feeling good? And so you experienced the glimpse into parallel reality.
Okay, so that's what deja vu. I mean, deja vu is the shift.
Yes. Well, deja vu, because if we take quantum field of reality, those are big words, but yeah. If we take the quantum field of infinite potential, That's what the void is. That's where we are at. The energy of the void condenses itself with the presence of the observer, which we're still finding, you know. Where is the observer? Who is the observer? Whatever, you know, the energy of the void condensing itself into forms, non-physical forms, physical forms. Here you are. You're the energy condensed right here. When into the physical form inside you, there is non-physical form outside of you, there's a non-physical form. It's all the same energy, different forms of energy. So everything in that field exists simultaneously. Time does not exist. So everything I'm talking about is fiction. There are no timelines because there is no time. This is understanding timeline shifts.
I'm sorry?
This is understanding timeline shifts. You're welcome. If you're looking for the music, it's across, right up the steps right there. You're welcome. So when déjà vus happen, it means that you were in the state of being that removed those filters and you just observed yourself in parallel potential, having that other experience.
It's happening more and more too.
Right, which
Like, I mean,
means,
to me.
yeah, which means that the filters are coming down and it's not an accident that you are in this class. Yeah. All of you, we've had the agreement to have this shared experience, and your soul brought you here today because there's an exchange that could happen here, and I'm pretty confident that I can facilitate that for you, and you're gonna walk out of here into a whole new different timeline, whole new different state of being.
I was telling Eden that your class was literally jumped out of the program at me. I was like, okay, guess I'm going to this one.
And see how many questions you have, right?
Yeah,
And I see all that processing going on there. I'm just trying not to turn it into one-on-one conversation. I'm like, every time I look, I start it's like she's like figuring out, okay, what's happening here?
Yeah, no, I resonate a lot. Yeah.
Excellent. All right, so any more? Let's open. Tell me more experiences or questions or anything like that. I like this. This is really nice.
I had a dream recently that I fell through the earth, and instead of like hitting the earth, I dropped into a dimensionless, like weightless place. And since then, I realized that like life has been really hard. Like that when I dropped into this place, there was a huge physical relief. Like it was not at all emotional.
Yeah.
But like my whole body had this, and I was there for a couple moments where there was no sound and there was just nothing. And then I got this like full, like pulled back, like physically that happened. And then I came back to earth, and then from there was a lot of chaos in my dream. And I woke up after the dream, which I also don't ever do really. I'll wake up in the morning sometimes, remember, and I remember writing it down and then looking at it and being like, wow, okay. And then since then, I've been going back to this place often, or like maybe craving to more so, and not, like, I go far away really quickly these days,
Right.
or desire to meditate in things, which I think maybe I'm not listening to. But it's interesting, I have this like, I don't know what that was, but I have had really hard times like being here since that dream I had.
Yeah. So did you, when you went into that space, was that experience of the void that I mentioned, when you're like nobody, no time, no space, but
Exactly.
you are completely weightless, and you're also experiencing yourself as everything, like shared consciousness of everything. You're not
Right,
you're
and
not like a focused point of your individuality.
Yeah, no, there was no me.
There you go.
And I don't think I've ever felt that so physically full.
Yeah.
And so real, like but I wasn't awake, but it was such
Right.
a real place.
Well, we have these experiences in dreams because very often in our real physical awakened state, and I don't mean awakened as an awakening, but I mean in being awake, physically awake, the filters are too strong. we're not really ready to go there. So, but your soul is connected. Your soul is pulling you there into that space, into that's the space of the infinite divine, the infinite forever. The field of that infinite potential.
And now you got a taste of it. You can go back to it because it's
Yes.
a reference point.
Yes, it basically, that dream helps you to lay the track in your brain that takes you, that now you said I go back there, right? You can kind of recreate that feeling in you, right? So you're going back. This is the space of pure creation too. So if you decide to facilitate a change in your life for yourself, you can go really deeply into that meditation, pull on that feeling from that dream where you experience that, and stay there for a little while. And when you're returning back, visualize or experience that intention or the change or the shift that you want. And when you drop back into your reality, you will open your eyes. It might take you a little while to put your room back together. It might have the trees instead of bushes outside of your window. You know. Nice, very good. Yeah, you're here. You're here for here, meaning on this planet, as a part of the wave of the starseeds that are all here, incarnated here to assist with this process. And we're all called to action now. We're all required to participate in this process. We have probably about another couple of minutes to discuss and share, and then I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to ask for all of you to lay down, and we're going to do a heart opening meditation just to get into that space, and it's just going to be a couple of minutes, and then I will turn the music on and I will do the energy work for the whole group, meaning I will bring that in and I offer you to drift off. And before we do that, I offer you to set an intention within your heart, as in where you would like to wake up at. And let's do two, because our own individual well-being assists us in feeling great, so we can remove the filters and experience these things because we're in an uplifted state. But we're also assisting this planet. We're part of the planet. So perhaps focusing on general well-being of planet Earth and the beauty to be recognized and the peace to be created, or not created, but experienced by all of us. So that would be a good collective intention. Before we do all that, do you guys have any any questions, anything else you want to share?
When we're talking about having our heart open, so since I've been working with keeping my heart open, there's been times where I feel like it's as open as it's ever been, and the energy is so intense, and I'm feeling like non-intellectualized, non-personal, unconditional love. Right. Right, and it's just very beautiful, but it can be so overwhelming that I've almost developed a fear because the energy is so strong. Yeah. That it's almost like I don't really understand how to handle it. Right. So practice every skill. When something happens spontaneously, like here, we go into the void spontaneously. We open the heart spontaneously, experience the movement of energy. When something happens spontaneously, you can turn it into a skill by pulling in the feeling of how it felt. Your mind would have no idea how it happened, right? All of a sudden but how did it feel to you? How does that feel, the heart? How does it feel to be in the void? Pulling on that feeling and then doing whatever it takes to recreate that feeling, meditation, or, let me sit with that heart right here, or let me feel excited and elevated and see if anything else
shows up like that, right? So if we practice that, right, immediately after that happened, your brain just experienced something new, so there is an opening there. In the hardware, in that physical brain right there, an opening. If you pull on that feeling and recreate it, pull on that feeling or do your best to recreate it, even if it doesn't recreate immediately the same way, keep pulling on that. Within about a week, you're going to have finite tracks in your mind that are going to offer you the skill. And after that, you're going to be able to do it by choice. So with the heart energy, the heart being overwhelming, the energy of being overwhelming, first of all, balance yourself, ground yourself, and know that it's okay. You're just experiencing your own power.
Knowing it's okay.
You're just experiencing the power that moves through you. That's that source.
Yeah.
That's that energy of source moving through the vessel. The heart is the one aware of it. Now all of a sudden your brain became aware of it too. Right? And then now you can, and then you're going to learn to focus it. Oh, let me focus it into my hands. What if I focus it into my left? Oh my God, like someone said pins and needles they experienced the first time, right? Or they experience it, you're experiencing the tingles. These are the healing hands. You're creating the healing hands. Put the hands here on top of the heart and share that energy and then visualize, circulate that energy. Human beings are really not complicated at all. We follow our intention. We follow what we ask for. You can literally customize your expansion, your awakening, your skills, your abilities, where your energy goes, by just saying, hey, I want to remember my dreams. I want to go into the void. I want to know how to move that energy. And it's going to happen. It's as simple as that. We think we need all the complicated procedures, but we don't. A good, beautiful practitioner like a sound healing or yoga fest or a class where you experience that gives you an opportunity to lay that track in your brain of how it happens, what it feels like. And then, as you walk out of the door, populate that timeline, populate that space, that feeling with new stories, new experiences. Keep returning to that feeling, and it's going to become a skill for you. True story. I learned that way. This is how I train myself with just about everything I know. All right, guys, before we take a break, any questions, anything else? Yes.
I would like to share a little story.
Of course.
I'm questioning if it kind of fits in with this.
Of course. Everything fits in with this.
I was nannying for a family of 3 kids, and then one day, shortly after I started working with them, I found out that the 2 daughters had the same birthday as my mom and my grandma, who had both passed away. And that was really special to me, and young Chris maybe.
Did they pass away before, like prior to the kids were born?
Yeah.
How long prior, you think?
Well, actually, the older girl who had the same birthday as my mom was probably, it was probably like 2 years after, or 1 year after my mom passed away. And the younger girl, also, she was like 3. It was probably like 5 years after.
Okay. I work with souls. I work with soul streams. I can communicate through the heart channel. I can communicate with the ones who left the planet. And you can talk to them in the heart space through telepathic communication. You can talk to them as easily as the ones who are sleeping across the hall, somewhere like in the soul space. Communication is open with all. And so I have often asked, because people come to me to find out what happened to the ones who left, right, who are on the other side already. And in my experience, the ones who, they tell me, oh, I'm already incarnated, I have not seen, and it's just my experience again, because who knows, right? But in my experience, no one has incarnated like the next day. No one incarnates within a month. But within a year, majority are reincarnated already, especially now, because now we're bringing in new kids into this reality with upgraded hardware. Upgraded hardware that doesn't have as many filters, that can pull that information and knowing themselves as star seeds, and knowing their gifts and remembering their past lives, which are parallel realities, really, you know. So the ones who left, they want to come back pretty fast. So I'm observing through my work that reincarnation cycle is about a year. You know, within a year, almost everyone is reincarnated. That's why I asked you how long. So it is. Do they remind you of?
Yeah. Their energies. I mean, it was the same birthday, so also astrologically,
right.
They have that going on.
Well, they wouldn't necessarily have the same birthday, but they might have similar personality traits, or sometimes they carry even physical resemblance. There are different things. So yeah, hey, you know, enjoy. It's awesome that you have an opportunity to experience a different expression of the same soul stream in a different physical body. Awesome. All right, very much in alignment with that, yes?
I don't know how to ask my question, but I'm curious about learning more about star seeds and also the rate of suicide these days in high vibrational or older souls. And if you have anything to speak to with that?
Right. Well, a lot of star seeds are incarnated here, or they come here. Apparently there's like 70 billion souls that are waiting to get into Earth. I don't know who gets these numbers from where, you know, and why. But a lot of cosmic souls come into Earth experience because they're hearing the call, that Earth needs help. What is the help that Earth needs? Frequency. Your presence. Your presence. Your presence. Your presence, all of our presence here is, and the younger you are, the more upgraded you are in your gifts, unless you pull in really old ancient timelines, incarnations. So, but a lot of star-seeded kids come in without any experience of Earth, meaning that's their first incarnations into human form, and the contrast is drastic, because where we come from is shared consciousness. We not only have shared consciousness with the entire race, if we belong to a specific cosmic race, we also have shared consciousness with the planet. We have full awareness of that. There's that constant space of oneness. There's no separation, no polarity, no loneliness, none of that. It's like that void space, but you also are condensed into a specific form, non-physical form, if you're in a non-physical type of being, where you're sharing information, you're sharing love. And the state of love is a whole entirely different state than what we experience here on Earth. So when we incarnate into human experience, very often we have some simulated life experiences that is kind of like training to come into Earth. And then you drop into this body, and this stress starts right away, because first of all, you are helpless in the physical form. You can't fly, you can't communicate. There's that density here, the physical density. You're trapped inside the physical form. And then there's also that state of separation. And so people, the ones who came in thinking that they're going to come in and assist, very often come from really beautiful places, and they can't handle what goes on Earth. The density, the separation, the 3D love, which is very different than what we remember in ourselves. And so people, or those bodies that got populated, the souls want to cancel, go back and cancel. And so that's the suicide. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I finish? Did I answer your question? Because I only remember, I forgot the second half of your
And the
question.
sensitivity too.
The what?
So they're highly empathetic too.
Yeah, of course, because that comes with coming from a place of shared consciousness. I've been there. I've been in the place where I remembered when I decided to incarnate into Earth.
You do?
Yes, through meditation, I remembered the moment when I decided to incarnate into Earth.
And you were on another planet.
I was on another planet, yeah. And everything on that planet was communicating to me. And there were beings there that I couldn't see because they were non-physical, but I felt the presence of the entire race. And the state was complete balance and peace and love. And it was just color, you know, the experience of color. And that love that you don't get here. And then I had, and it was kind of like, oh, I want to bring this to Earth. I want to bring this. I want to give this. I want to share this, and I want to help. So that was the thought process. And next thing I knew, I was coming. I remembered my birth too. It was the same meditation. Coming out, and when I came out, it was cold. It was scary. I was helpless. God wasn't there. Not God, but that shared consciousness. What we call God is that shared consciousness. It wasn't there. The only thing was there was my mother, and then they took me away from her immediately, you know. And so that whole traumatic experience, and then because we're open like that, we're so open and used to shared consciousness, we're seeking that, and so we can feel other people's state of being, energy fields. But that dark cloud, whatever is produced around here by people who are not in alignment, that's really painful. So for that, working on closing on creating the boundaries so that you have a choice. If you want to do healing work for someone and you want to experience what they feel, you open yourself up. But generally just carrying yourself, you can say within your mind, and it's good for everyone to know, you can say within your mind that this is a one-way exchange, one-way flow. I'm bringing the energy, and I'm offering that to you, energy of source for you, but this is not an exchange. So that's a very good, that mantra, that as a mantra that helped me a lot.
So say when she or whoever is kind of bubbling, and we're within ourselves, we can, instead of just not having any connection, source connection,
yeah.
To bring that in.
That makes you a powerful healer, because you bring the source through your heart center and you offer it one way. And again, it's not complicated. You don't need to do like the whole like shielding and this and that, you know. You
just intention.
Yeah, intention is, and repeat that until your body, your system, every cell in your body, your soul knows that it's a one-way flow. Yes, I am available to bring that energy for whomever needs it, whoever is in front of me, whoever requires that assistance right now, it's coming through, but I'm not open for the reverse flow. I'm not open for an exchange. I'm holding my space for myself right here. My space with source.
Could we kind of like set a standard for what we would allow in and kind of put that on autopilot?
Yeah, that's what I'm suggesting here. That becomes autopilot eventually. I suffered tremendously. I felt everybody everywhere. The person would cough across the hole and I would start like choking right here, you know. So it literally was showing in physical symptoms in me too. Anyone had a cold, I immediately picked it up because the inner state of being desires to assist. You want to save everybody, whether you're aware of that or not. Your soul is like reaching out to help everyone in need. But that's not possible. It will leave you exhausted.
I feel like it used to be that way in certain places we came from, because I've had like very clear Atlantean memories where
Nice.
like everyone had healer capacity, but there was like actually main healing chambers and whatnot. But it would be recognized if somebody like needed help, and it would be assisted immediately, so nobody would get to the point where they were ever in like utter despair or sickness or anything, because it would be immediately like recognized and helped. And if somebody didn't
that's shared consciousness right there. You know right away.
Yeah.
And so you bring that tweak right there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So maybe now that's how it's happening with us being empathic or sensing that. So would there be any time where, say, we wouldn't want to shut that off because we do want to? Where's that balance, where we do want to help, so we need to know what's going on so that we can help?
Well, generally, we only help the ones who ask for help.
Oh.
That's the ethical rule.
Yeah.
In the conscious exchange of space. But then your soul is gonna keep doing that anyway. So that's when the boundary is important.